Yo, what's going on out there, everyone? My name is Vic, and you have tuned into Prime Time with a Purpose. Don't get nervous. We going below the epidermis. You have reached the real HD show, the higher discussion. Once again, I'm Vic, and you are tuned in for a 2 hour crash ride for the good, the bad, the ugly that you're going to find on these or any other airwaves that we talk about censoring our community, but we heal it with freedom music. That's right. We tackle a lot of, you know, hard hitting subject matter, but we heal it with freedom music. Freedom music happens from 7:30 to 8 o'clock on these airwaves. That's when you can tap in and begin to get that battery in your back that motivates you to do great things while we play all the greatest soca, hip hop, R&B, bass, jazz, uh, hell, the kitchen sink. Not biting off of L. Michael Gibson, but had to take a little bit of his situation real gently. Make sure that you like, share, subscribe, comment, and turn on all your notifications. Do it now. Do it right now. So that every time we have a real HD show, you too could tap in and have a higher discussion with us. Um Total package, not total package energy, but redeem vacations. Make sure you tap in and bring somebody to the Real HD show or any of the Real HD shows, and you too will get a 4 day, 3 night staycation at a United States destination near you. Bats Footwear, all the way from the NOLA. Revolutionary Soul Technology, good for the joints and legs and the hips, and takes the pressure off of those areas. Cross between Vans and Hirachis, real dope, real stylish, but good for the feet. Check out Bats Footwear. Ice Spice wanted a pair. And also, um, maybe we can do the other. Uh, yeah, we'll do the other one. We'll do the other uh sponsor a little bit later in the show. But check out our Cash App, $ the Real HD Show, $ the Real HD Show. The mini flex is 25. The max flex is 50. We need your help to keep the station going. We even have a new incentive program getting ready to blast off for you to get involved with the show called Info Coins. Yeah, man, we got some really good stuff for you happening. But make sure you hit that $ Real HD Show on Cash App. Don't super chat on Facebook, but I'm not Facebook, YouTube, because YouTube takes a part of that and doesn't like to share their blocks with us, which is corny as hell because we're giving them a lot of good business. You know what I mean? So do that, do that, do that. Please do that. We need that to increase like a mug. And, you know, just like always, before we get started, we always have to do our elders and ancestors blueprint. And tonight we have two. Tonight we have two. So I'm gonna put on this video by Hip Hop Cartoons. We haven't done that in a while, so I figured we can get that popping. And while we do that, you can do what you do and give us a retweet, give us a share, give us a like, give us a post. Post this all over the place because it's worth it. And it's going to it's the gift that keeps on giving. It is our labor of love, our love song to the community on the Real HD show. Y'all tap in. Here we go.
If you do not understand white supremacy, what it is, and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. Now, sometimes people say, well, you mean everything that I understand will confuse me if I don't understand racism? Yes, because racism is the dominant political and religious motivating force among the people of the planet in all 9 areas of activity: economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. That covers just about everything that any person, minute by minute, might be doing or engaged in any time of day or night, anywhere on the planet. But they don't understand white supremacy. And it's not me teaching that. I'm just observing what's there. And I always ask people, don't believe anything that Neely Fuller says, because he's a mistake. He's a fellow prisoner. So that's just his assessment. Peeping out of the small cell that the white supremacists allowed me to be in, which is wherever they put me on the planet. I can't be anywhere except where they assign me to be. I can't be anywhere except where the white supremacists assign me to be. On this planet, they assign black people, people of color, where they're going to be. I follow that assignment. I can't be anywhere except because I'm in their prison. And what is their prison? It's the entire planet. We have to understand that. We have to understand we are dealing with something much bigger than what we think. We have been taught by the white supremacists to think that white supremacists are 10 or 12 beer-drinking white men, mostly white men and a few white women, in some ragged station wagons, yelling the N-word out as they drive through what we call the black neighborhood, all right? Drinking beer, shooting guns out the window or something every now and then, and shouting out the N-word. Now, that's how we think of white supremacists. We don't think of it as being an entire, well-thought-out, global gangster system, because it operates on gangster principles based on the old principle of what a lot of white people said that they got rid of, which they didn't, and that is the idea of royalism, because that's all racism is. Racism is just the latest and most powerful form of royalism. Now, what is royalism? Kings and queens. In other words, somebody somewhere taught somebody that if you're white, you're automatically a king. A king over whom? Over subjects, over your servants. And who are they? Anybody with color in his or her skin. Now, once that idea took off, if you're white, anybody with color in his or her skin, you are supposed to dominate. That's your assignment as a white person. Like it or not, that's your assignment. You're not doing your duty if you don't do that. That's how white supremacy, apparently and logically speaking, and according to all the history books, directly, indirectly, directly, prove how it came to be. And we're witnessing that. But we're witnessing it in the most refined form now. It used to be not so refined. They just walk in and just start killing people. I mean, you know, the red people and whatnot, hey, they'll talk to you for 5 or 10 minutes, but if you give them any sass, you're dead. All right? And they just kill people and kill people and kill people and kill people. In what you call Australia, they did it there. They did it everywhere they went. But over a period of time, they say, well, we don't want to just kill everybody all the time. I mean, you know, been there, done that, know how to do it, can do it again anytime we want to. So what we'll do, we will handle people the best way you can handle people, where you can get the most out of them. And that is through the minds. So we'll capture their minds. And we'll even tell them about killing. But we will teach them to kill each other. We'll teach black people to kill Mexicans and Indians, and kill Mexicans to kill black people and whatnot, and kill Mexicans to kill Mexicans. All right, and form gangs, killing other Mexicans. All these dark-skinned people, we'll teach them how to do all that. As long as they don't bother us, we'll be running everything. We'll crack the whip over all of them while they're killing each other. All right, knock their heads together and say, all right, that's enough, boys. Get back in your pens. Get back in your little chicken coops. Get back in your ghettos. Write a few songs. Do a little tap dancing and whatnot. We'll throw you a few coins. and throw a lot of coins nowadays, because the price of maintaining white supremacy is getting higher. Because black people are, some of them, are beginning to wake up a little bit to that part, that they would like to get paid sometime for something, all right? So, but that's just about as far as it goes, because the white supremacists, they pay them. They'll pay us all. They'll pay us reparations if it's cash, because they know they'll get it back in 15 minutes anyway. They know they are the masters of money. It's not that's another thing about money. Black people think money comes from some secret planet somewhere. All money is controlled by the white supremacists. So anything that I send out to you, if I control it, and then I control you on top of it, it's logical that if I control you and I control money that I give you, what does that mean mathematically? That I control everything, including money. But we don't even think at that level. Now, some people have said they've seen some cartoons of my work on the internet that have been presented, and that
1 2 1 2. So we're back. Real HD show. We're back. That was Dr. Neely Fuller doing his thizzle. You know what I'm saying? Giving us that good word. And the reason why I chose that one for tonight, and I know sometimes I ruffle a little bit of feathers. I had like I had like 14 people on, but as soon as I put on that Dr. Neely Fuller, boy, folks get it's almost like, light on a vampire, or, light on the cockroaches, they scurry off. They don't want to hear that raw and uncut. You know what I mean? But sometimes you got to just cut it and give it to them the way it's supposed to be had. You know what I'm saying? You can't sugarcoat it, because we are playing for keeps out here. And it is not a game. It is very serious. Things are happening that are, you know, somewhat in our control and out of our control. And I think Dr. Neely Fuller is actually genius in the way that he goes about talking about that, because then he can use sarcasm to the best of his ability to illustrate the points that he's trying to make in terms of, you know, how regressed we are in this system that we're living in. And also, based on the subject matter of tonight's show, the Actor-vist issue. Yeah, man. Actor-vist. Not activist, but Actor-vist. That's right. We got them all over the place, man. If you don't understand racism, white supremacy, and the 9 areas of human activity that it affects, everything else will confuse you. Everything else will confuse you. And we're seeing the effects of that. Just look at any uh public any public speech. Look at any narrative that's being promoted. Look at all of these YouTube and social media videos. All you hear for a lot of it is confusion. And a lot of the confusion is coming from those who are paid to create confusion. Now, contrary to the civil rights movement, where we had a lot of our actors and actresses, our acclaimed folks, coming off the heels of the Harlem Renaissance, they wanted to be a part of the answer. And now we're in this age of the narrative gets you paid. So a lot of actor-vists are ready to jump in, put their 2 cents in the game, and act like they know something about something when they don't, because they're really confused. And the Amanda Seals piece, Ariana Evans from BLM, that piece uh, is prime examples of it. But before we get too far into that, we always got to do our ancestors and elders blueprint. So that was part one with the ancestor, Dr. Neely Fuller. And this would be part two. Cue the music. Yeah, man, you can't stop the rain. You can't stop the reign of the ancestors when they come through with that indelible spirit, trying to get it done. Um, they remain number one because of the resilience that they have. And speaking of a man with resilience, we're going to talk about, you've heard of this brother before, but we're going to talk about his resilience in the face of thievery. Now, we always speak of thievery in terms of, you'll see it on YouTube. Oh, you got a copyright. You didn't really steal it. You just, maybe you used it 2 seconds of it, 3 seconds, 5 seconds, or maybe you used a lot of it. Um, but in this particular one, this was a whole invention. And, Thomas Edison thiefed it. So now we're going to see how this brilliant brother dealt with that. And we're going to see his travails. Elders and Ancestors Blueprint right here on The Real HD Show. Here we go.
Edison stole his invention, so he took Edison to court and won. He made trains safer, he made subways possible, and if you've ever ridden one without crashing, you could thank him. But chances are, you've never even heard of him. His name was Granville T. Woods. Born in 1856, black, brilliant, self-taught. They called him the Black Edison, but let's be real. Edison should have been called the White Woods, because Woods wasn't just good, he was revolutionary. He lived in a time when black genius was ignored, stolen, and erased. He didn't get invited to the labs, he built his own. He didn't get degrees, he earned respect. When he patented a way for trains to talk to stations, saving lives, Edison tried to claim it was his. Woods fought him in court and won. He invented the third rail, the electric power line that runs trains to this day. He improved brakes, telegraphs, even early phones. Over 50 patents, every one a battle, but they buried his legacy. Textbooks left him out. Edison got the spotlight, Woods got forgotten. Because this country uplifts power, not always truth. Granville died alone, but he died brilliant. A man who gave everything so millions could move safely every day. You ride his legacy, now carry his name. Share this, say his name. Granville T. Woods.
All right, you heard it. You heard it first, not first, but you heard it in a unique way right here on the Real HD Show. We're talking about Granville Woods. You know what I mean? That super duper inventor, self-taught, self-made, did not want to take shit for an answer. Took Thomas Edison to court, won for the rights to keep his patents, especially the patent that he fought Thomas Edison over, because back then it was I'm YT and I say so. So I'm just gonna do what I want. I'm gonna run rough shot over, whatever is popping, um, which is crazy, you know. So if y'all want to talk about Granville Woods and how he beat Thomas Edison in court and how you basically can do the very same thing for whatever claim you might have, tap in, uh, tap into the call letters below. Join the show. ZIUMNHHY8H. Yeah, that's how we do it on a Real HD Show. And I just want to let you guys know there was a riveting, you know, show this weekend on the Real HD Show Network. And that was the Sage Dragon Book Club. And the Sage Dragon Book Club did a really dope book review and expose on When Crack Was King. And if you're a boomer or Xer, and also millennial, you know, you have to deal with when crack was king because it changed the landscape of Orzi, right? No matter where you are, no matter who you are in the black community, it changed the landscape. It changed uh the way that families dealt with each other. It changed the way that neighborhoods functioned. It changed life in this country as we know it, and made us a lot more individualistic, a lot more, you know, closed off and closed minded, protectionist, as it were. And it might have just gone on to help our, regress our people just in general. So, in many, many, many crazy, crazy ways. So, if you want to see a great book review, something that's not soft soaked, and something that's full of valuable information that you can latch on to, go check out on the Real HD Show page or the AJ James page or the Sage Dragon page on YouTube. Check out the Sage Dragon book review on When Crack Was King. Yeah, yeah. And we're here for this tonight one more again, the Actor-vist issue. And we're going to keep going. And like we always do, we're going to jump into our AAT report. Here we go. Yeah, man. We are in a healthy, wealthier, and wiser segment for a brand new you. And I wanted to feature a video. It's not the exact video that my brother sent me. My bro, sincere peace to you. I hope you're watching. I hope that you can contribute with some really dope commentary tonight. If not, let me know how we can work out those tech issues so we can get you in here, bro. All right. So in this particular video, man, um, as the AAT report always likes to, like our mantra says, anything under the air, sea, and on the land that can make you healthy, we will cover. And this isn't so much something that you can buy or eat, but this is more of an awareness. So you can move fearless. So I won't say more than that till we're done with it on the other side. Jump on in, let me know if the water is fine. We getting deep enough to swim in with this one. Give us a donation after you hear this video. Check this out on the Real HD Show. Let's get active on it on the other side. Peace, y'all.
Way to hack Ozempic, and they're doing it in secret. The story is actually crazy. Okay, so there's a food laboratory in Northern California called Matson that is, quote unquote, creating the future of food. It's run by this guy named Justin Shimmick, PhD. So you know he is a smart guy, and he has monetized his intelligence quite well. It says for nearly 50 years, Matson has conceptualized, developed, branded, and scaled hundreds of product lines, and in the process created billions of dollars in revenue for clients. And right now, their clients, Big Food, is asking them to do experiments that will reformulate ingredients so that their food can bypass the effects of Ozempic, Wegovy, and other GLP-1 weight loss drugs. Because from a financial perspective, people on these weight loss drugs are buying less food. Walmart CEO John Furnard recently told Bloomberg News that the company is seeing signs that people taking GLP-1 agonist appetite suppressant medications are buying, quote, less units, slightly less calories, which equals less profit. New York Times has reported that sales are down in sweet baked goods and snacks, and the industry is weathering a downturn. That's a big problem for these food executives. So in response, the food companies are designing what they call GLP-1 optimized products. In layman's terms, they're trying to make the food more addictive, even more addictive than they already are, because we know that food is already pretty addictive. Quote, there is little the industry hasn't tried to keep health-conscious consumers eating. Companies conceal clouds of nostalgic aromas into packaging to trigger Proustian reverie. When they discovered that noisier chips induced people to eat more of them, snack engineers turned up the crunch. Food technologists found a way to amplify the intensity of artificial sweeteners to hundreds of times beyond sugar's natural flavor. The structure of salt crystals can be altered to accelerate the speed at which they absorb into the chemical pathways that signal saltiness, allowing the brain to perceive the flavor more intensely. In the chemosensory world, referring to the science of how chemicals provoke sensations, almost anything is possible. Yeah, I suppose almost anything is possible, but I think the certainty here is that we're going to be left with a bunch of people who are still obese, taking drugs with, pretty bad side effects that no longer work. That, I would say, is not ideal. And worse yet, it's all being done in secret, okay? When asked, Justin Shimmick wouldn't say which companies he was working with to develop these GLP-1 products, saying, quote, "We are professional secret keepers." These people are sick.
Wow. So there you have it. Ozempic. So Ozempic is the new weight loss trend, right? So everybody wants to get plugged up with Ozempic, and they think that that's going to discourage them from eating. Well, we know discipline is truly the way to go. But, the dumb, deaf, and blind kind of always get led in this direction regardless. But you know what out here? Oh, come on, Vic. That ain't real. Because, he didn't give no sources. He didn't specify this or specify that. And the alphabet groups didn't validate what he said. Sure they did. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back through this video and we'll look at all of the particular stamps, news articles, peer reviews, and so on. So the first one would be this one here. And this comes to you from Matson.com. All right. So you can go to Matson.com and you can learn all about their food engineering on Matson.com. It's not me, it's Matson.com. Food engineering. Okay. So they want to keep you sedated. They want to keep you fat. They want to keep you what we would call dumb, deaf, and blind. They want to keep you fat and happy so that you can't see clear for what's going on and what really matters in your lifetime, which is discipline, which is moving on and doing something worthwhile with your time, which is not trauma eating, which is not, influencing your family or your loved ones to do the same because they're bored or because you got your EBT card and you got $1,200 and you could buy a bunch of snacks, And then what's ill about it is people, especially the New York Times, let me see if I can get to this. The New York Times reported, now I don't know if you want to quote them, but they reported that, and see, here's another article. So it's not me, don't call me, don't call me any of the ad hominems you want to call people because you think I'm presenting something uber goofy or something that can't be referenced. Go check this stuff out yourself. Go check this stuff out yourself. Check out the planned obsolescence that they got waiting for your ass. Go check it out. And then get back to the Real HD show and tell me what you think. They said they wanted to make food crunchier. They wanted to make the flavor a little more sugary. They put chemical engineering into things so that you are more addicted. So forget aspartame in the soda and what that does to you. Now they're programming the food to combat an already dangerous drug, an already lethal drug, or a drug that already rocks the human biome, which is Ozempic. And now because that rocks the human biome, Ozempic, and Walmart even said it, the the Walton family, those killionaires, you know what I mean? Those killionaires is what I like to call them, killionaires. They said that products on shelves buying sugary foods, sweets, and products are down because of Ozempic. Oh no, 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 no. We can't have that. We can't have y'all not eating our stuff in y'all face, not, you know. And here it is. Walmart CEO, according to Bloomberg News, said that the company is seeing signs that people are taking the GLP-1 um, appetizer suppressant and buying less and wanting to expend less calories. Crazy, crazy that a drug has to get people in that frame. That's number one. And crazy that, a retailer would make that sort of an omission on a financial newsletter. But that just goes to show you, if a company like Walmart, owned by the Walton Killionaire family, right, would make that sort of an omission, that tells you the game they're running. It's a Killionaires club, and they got the password to get into it. And they're preying on your ignorance. They're preying on you being deaf, and blind, and not acting on, your resilience, not acting on your ability to be disciplined, and not acting on your ability to have knowledge of self and move accordingly. You know what I mean? So, just check that out. Alert all of those who you love and who you know, who care for. And if they're trying to do this Ozempic thing, tell them, miss me with that. Say, do not do that. Do not get on Ozempic, and be very, very aware of the sweets and the snacks and the things that you're buying, because now they want to lace these products purposefully with additives and crunchier styles and more savory engineered styles. So you're not getting real chocolate. You're not getting real peanut butter. You're not getting real lemon. You're getting some sort of facsimile that they created. You're getting some placebo of it that they created for their own, you know, financial gain. And you saw the scientists. I even gave you the scientists that actually came up with this. What's the guy's name? Let me go back to it. There you go. So let me move this up, and I'll tell you the name of the engineer. Chief Executive Officer Justin Schimmer, PhD. So if he could use his degree for the pursuit of financial gain to engineer food to do people this dirty, you know what's going on in other realms and other things. Just wanted to tap into that. So you just saw 3 different sources that you could go to, vet, check it out, get back to the Real HD show, and let us know what you think of this particular health item. Not claiming to be some sort of health expert. I'm just trying to enlighten us on what's going on out here so we can make great decisions, especially with the cost of food. Are you out of your man? Y'all tap in, man. Y'all give us a tweet. Y'all give us a comment. Y'all give us a like. Y'all give us a donation on this one, because how much does food cost? Like Kendrick said, how much does a dollar cost, right? So how much does food cost? And is this what you're paying into? Addiction? You're paying into sugar addiction, chemical addiction, and even if you try to fight it through Ozempic, they got drugs and all type of nonsense out here waiting for you to slip up, so you could be addicted on whatever they got out there for you to be addicted on food wise. And guess what? This ain't even like new, because the advent of high fructose corn syrup by the Germans and them proliferating it in the 60s, late 60s, early 70s in the United States, and yellow dye number 5, blue 40. I mean, go down, red number, red number 9, go down the list of all of these additives and engineered chemicals that are in the food that they want to entice you with to eat these things. And don't get me wrong, ain't nothing wrong with treating yourself to something a piece of chocolate every once in a while, some ice cream every once in a while. There's nothing wrong with that. But just know your sources. Talk to people. If you getting your ice cream from a local mom and pop, like we have what's the ice cream place up here we have where they don't do ice cream but they do custard. What's the name of the spot? Oh my gosh. We used to go there all the time. But anyway, so talk to your merchants, talk to your proprietors, ask them how they prepare the stuff, ask them what's in the stuff. More than likely, they'll be honest with you. Because if you want to come in there and buy from them on one angle, on another angle, they're not gonna want to lose you as a customer. So they might just be straight up with you, like, "Yo, I know you want this, but this one is better. This is the real stuff here. The peanuts in that ain't real. The peanuts in this though, real. Why? Because I have to buy it. Because if I don't buy it, then I can't be in their order system, their catalog, and the wheels of commerce don't keep turning for my business. I lose my proprietorship. I lose my economic relationship with these suppliers. So just wanted to show you guys that. Tap in and let us know what you think of this particular idiom, this particular piece of awareness to move fearless on the Real HD Show. Yeah, man. So I thought that was really interesting. I thought that was really, poignant. I thought that was really direct and necessary to point out. And just like the advertisement says, we are here for the activist issue. Now, why did I choose this particular one? What do you think I was trying to get at here? Well, what I was trying to get at is that, and my wife and I, and the fellas and I, we talk about it all the time. Like, is it fair for folks that are actors and sports personalities and radio personalities that are larger than life, like the Breakfast Club and Roland Martin, who's steeped in the political genre, Tammy Lauren and Candace Owens, who's basically a plant for conservatives, and you know, um, Amanda Seal, who's an actress, right? To have a platform to speak on issues that are activist based issues, and are they the most qualified to do these things? Now, I'll take you back to how nobody was giving love to Tavis Smiley and Cornel West when they had their covenant for Black America. But as soon as P. Diddy came out with Revolt and Rock the Vote, Rap the Vote, and the Revolt Summit, and all of these different, like, uh entertainers that wanted to have a political voice. Now, there's nothing wrong with having a political voice, but if you're not educated and you don't have an astute way of getting your message across, I don't recommend that you come out as a actor or an entertainer or a sports figure or some sort of socialite personality, the Kim Kardashians of the world, whatever, and pretend like you're steeped into that particular knowledge base, that particular genre, that particular scholarship. Because then what you see is, on things like the Breakfast Club, they often get made fools of. You'll get somebody coming on there, Vivek Ramaswamy, and he'll come on there and he'll make them look like fools. He'll have them chasing their tail, you know? And it just, and that's the most popular. The Breakfast Club, for lack of a better term, is probably one of the more popular mediums on the internet. And a lot of people don't even look at the regular news anymore. They look at stuff like the Breakfast Club and TikTok and IG. and that's their daily digest for how they get their news, how they get their media sources, and how they move and how they progress themselves in the world, because they think they're getting alternative media when really they should be going to like BitChute. They should be going to Telegram. They should be going to the Real World News. They should be going to the alternate.org. They should be going to alternate sources, New Times Israel, all kind, I'm just giving you some of the joints that I rock with. So when I want to hear something straight up, I don't wait for, the American media to be honest. They don't get honest unless they get busted. Unless they caught red-handed with their hand in a cookie jar, they do not give up the ghost. But just when that happens, that's when that comes about. You know what I'm saying? That's when the truth gets revealed. And we can't afford to wait. You know what I'm saying? Because if we wait, we're going to be on the outside looking in, feeling real thin. You know what I'm saying? So, um, I would that's how we're going to basically preempt what we're going to get into tonight, the actor-vist issue, right? Because they're actors, and they're not only actors by trade and by how they got their start, like well, I forgot to put homeboy's name, Al Sharpton. Al Sharpton got started in music. He was James Brown's roadie. He wanted to be a musician, and now he's super duper activist man. And then no tangibles for the community, no real progress in the community. But this dude got a show on MSNBC where he gets to run his mouth. And due to the 2008, 2012 memorandum of understanding with Obama, he gets a center stage. He gets him and the NAACP walked Al Sharpton right into that limelight. The Joy Reids, the Candace Owens, the Angela Rise, and now you got your Amanda Seales. And I'm not saying that Amanda Seales in that particular Jubilee feature didn't have some points to share, because she wasn't wrong in about 75% of what she had to present in that debate. It was about, you could tell that she did not have the acumen to hold that debate the way it was supposed to be held. And to actually teach the young people, because she was their senior in that moment, to teach them something. A lot of those, without going too deep, a lot of the confrontations and a lot of the debates and the back and forths left the young people, when they left the chair, because it was like a hot seat. When they left the chair, they left feeling like disgruntled, not like they learned something. And if she has a master's that she got from SUNY Purchase, which is that's kind of like her background. If she has a master's from SUNY Purchase, then you should be a lot more organized and a lot more thorough in the way that you go on about presenting yourself, especially if you're going to step into a spotlight and deal with some really confrontational issues that she was taking on, that revolve around the Black community, the Black diaspora, and so on and so forth. So we'll get into that in a little while. We'll get into that in a little bit, and that's going to be a heavier part of the show. So y'all jump in. The water's fine. The link to get involved, if you want to get involved, and anybody can step on up, and be a part of this. Come get some. It's StreamYard.com. ZIUMNHHY8H. That's how you can get involved. It's a Wednesday. It's August 20th. And we're here. You're there. Glad you could spend some time with us on the Real HD Show, doing what we do, bringing you that awareness so you can move fearless right here on the show. So here's one of the, issues that we're on, and one of the idioms or news reads that we can deal with, right? So Trump marshals Washington, D.C. Trump marshals Washington, D.C. Now, what does that mean? That means he invoked a presidential power to declare martial law in the city of District Columbia. And based on the Incorporation Act of 1871, the United States of America, Inc., owns the District of Columbia. That's their jurisdiction, wholesale. So it makes sense that that's the very first, area that they make a, concerted effort to martialize. You know what I mean? It makes sense. It makes sense. But I want to show you a couple of things in regards to that, and then we'll get into the major issue that's going on with that, which is the Paucault Panopticon. And that's a fancy way of saying something that we're going to get into a little bit later. But I just wanted to show you boots on the ground, some of the things that are going on in Washington, D.C., live and in color, so that you can be aware of what's happening and you can plan accordingly. Let me plug in my computer so I don't lose the stream, the power. Bong bong. All right, cool. So let's get to it. Let's see. Um, okay. Da-da-da-da. Let's see. Because this comes from Kim Iverson. Yeah, here we go. This comes from the Kim Iverson show. And it's on YouTube. So fair use, fair use. USC 106, 107, USC 106, fair use. Videos used for educational purposes only. Here we go. Let's get
the sandwich assault story. And there's a lot more to this than just, a guy threw a sandwich at the FBI and ends up getting charged with a felony. Kash Patel says this. He says, the FBI arrested this individual last night. He's been charged with felony assault on a federal officer. And what did this individual do? Well, he threw a Subway sandwich at the officers.
You see these fascists right here in our
fascists?
You! Fuck you, fascists! Shame! Shame! Shame!
All right, so I'm going to stop it right here real quick, and we're going to get into some of the other kind of more sensational points of the DC Marshall takeover. And you know what? This has been a presidential wet dream for a very long time. Because even last year with the January 6th piece, this is not new. This is not new. Biden put 10,000 troops in DC after January 6th. And Trump put 800 to 1,000. So I'm not saying that Trump is better or Biden is better. I'm saying that they two wings from the same dirty bird, just different wings. You know what I'm saying? Two wings, same dirty bird. And this is a presidential wet dream. Now, why do I say that? The reason why I say this is a presidential wet dream is because it gives them ultimate control and power. And then Trump also goes on to say, in a particular, let me see if I can find it in here. Let me see, because he made a speech about it. All right, I'll just get to the crux of it, right? Trump wants to do this in most major cities around the country. So that's right, St. Louis. Trump wants to do this too. That's right, New York, Chicago, Miami, Houston. You know, they're in LA right now. They're doing it in LA right now. And is this what you voted for? Is this what you wanted the orange man in office for? I didn't vote for him. I didn't vote for anybody because I didn't like either of the choices. You know, they ball it. They try to bog you down to be polarized to only make one choice, and I refuse to be in that wheelhouse. But he has a quick reaction force ready for any inner cities that want to uh, be reactionary and strike against what Trump is doing in DC. And he basically said in this article, let me see if I can find it. Uh, okay, I had it earlier. Let me see. Yeah. So I'll just explain it. So because I don't want to waste too much time, I want to get to the rest of the video. So he has what he calls the reaction force. And the reaction force, when you can look this up, I was trying to pull it up so I can show you because I like to come with my receipts. I don't just like to talk out my butt. But no pun intended. Um, he has a reaction force ready for any of the major cities that want to counteract what he is trying to do. Boots on the ground, and he has them ready to deploy the National Guard in the name of this. Now, what we have to ask yourself, the question you have to ask yourself, especially with the guy that you just saw on the screen, is does this suppress the the young man's right to what do you call that? A redress of grievances with the government? Does it make him in a position where he cannot redress his grievances with the government? Sounds like it to me. Sounds like it to me. And there's a quote by Henry Knox. Let me see if I can pull it up. Henry Knox, which was one of the signers of the Declaration of Independence, right? And the Constitution. So he was one of the good old boys. He was one of the clandestine folks. And I'm gonna see if I could pull up his quote about militia. Let me see if I can pull it up. Let's see if Joe Internet will cooperate with me live, right? Let me see. Henry Knox has a lot of quotes here, but I was looking for his quote about. And let me just pull it up on my phone because I basically saved it on my phone where I do a lot of my research, and I listen to a lot of folks who you know kind of want to executive produce for me and associate produce and give me a lot of information. So what is the quote by Henry Knox? I was just building with my homeboy about it the other day, and he was like, "Damn, bro, that's crazy." And I said, "Yeah, I'm gonna put it on the show, and I'm see if the people can appreciate it." All right, I found it on my phone, and the Henry Knox quote. I'll share my screen so you can actually see what Henry Knox looks like. And let's see. Can I find it on here real quick? It doesn't look like I'm gonna find it on here. Oh yeah, got it. Yay. Okay, cool. All right. So I'm gonna share my screen so you guys can see what Henry Knox is talking about. And then we'll go back to the video because you guys really need to see what's cracking in DC. So you guys have that awareness to move fearless. And let's see if it shares, even though I have a video going. Let's see what it do. Okay, so it's taking a minute. And let me see. Yay, got it. Okay. So this is Henry Knox, right? And he says, and this is one of the founding padres, right? Right. So for all those conservatives, this is his piece, right? An energetic national militia is to be regarded as capital security for a free republic. An energetic national militia, which is what these, ICE and this group that's in DC, is to be regarded as capital security. Very interesting. What's capital security? That means like business, right? So if they're bringing these particular, groups of hyper military people in there, this is for capital security. So they're protecting the business interests of a free republic and not a standing army. I repeat, not a standing army, forming a distinct class in the community. Wow. That's an eye opener. You know what I mean? So I hope you guys can get something out of that. And I'll remove that, as it were. And then we can get back to
Fight the fucking crowd, man. Take a fucking way!
now he's wilding out. So, if they give him the business, I get it. He's wilding out. But they have a homeless population problem in DC that has always been there. It's been there for decades. So, take that for what it is. Take that for what you can think it is. And here's what I want to get into. Because way too often, we got to ask ourselves the pivotal question: what does this have to do with us? What this got to do with us, right? So here's a a clip of an encounter with just some average DC black folk, because black folk dominate DC, per capita, per household, per residency, outside of Georgetown, and then there's another ritzy area of DC that everybody lives in. But for the most part, DC is a black city in its residency. And this is what this particular, goon ship of a takeover looks like in DC. Live boots on the ground. Here we go.
That is the most dystopian. Talk about living under, what Republicans are always screaming about, communism. Doesn't that feel like communism to you? That Big Brother's literally always watching and just coming around to let you know what the laws are so that
Cool. Here's a cigarette.
Oh, so that's the world we're living in now. You're just standing outside again. I mean, this is what they've had to resolve. Drain the swamp and get rid of the deep state. What did you think that meant?
I'm just trying to get to the beginning of that clip so you can see it.
They're not prosecuting people.
Okay, it's skipping around a bit. Let's see. All right.
Justice Department. And puts out, and he's just outside smoking, and this is what's happening in DC.
Y'all stay in that trouble. You got your ID on you, Chip?
Wow. So you heard the first thing he asked him: y'all staying out of trouble? You got your ID on you, champ? So now, in a sovereign, you're supposed to be sovereign based on the state that you're living in, right? You're a citizen. You're a taxpayer. You're supposed to be sovereign in the area that you live in, right? But we know that's not happening because he's asking them basically for freedom papers. You got your freedom papers, champ? Don't chant me. Knock it off. You know what I'm saying? If I'm your enemy, if I'm the number one profile that you're dealing with, don't patronize me. You know what I'm saying? But let's continue.
No, I live right here. Okay, cool. Here's a cigarette.
Oh, so that's the world we're living in now. You're just standing outside your front door, and they come around. They're like, "Where's your ID?"
Did y'all get a call or something right here?
No, so we're doing checks, keeping everybody safe down here, right? Have you heard of the federal surge that Donald Trump's putting out?
No.
Right. You don't follow like
No.
Code 3, anything like that people are putting up? All right, so yeah, Trump's got all federal agencies kind of coming together for 7 days and going out, trying to stop the violent crime, all kind of stuff. So we're out here contacting people, talking to them, right? Quality of life offenses, smoking, drinking in public, right? Can't happen outside, right? Most people know that. Right? So we're contacting people, trying to advise them of the law, so they learn, right? And then if there's other stuff going on where it turns into there's multiple agencies of somebody, there's shootings and things like that. So there's extra hands available, all right? So we're just out here trying to inform people and educate people. It's not like we're trying to just go.
I mean, just think about that for a
Wow, we out here informing people, so just let them know. Okay. OJ, okay. So here's another one here.
that's neither here nor there. Did he break the law or what?
None of that. My car's on. I was about to leave. He said I could leave. Fuck all that. Man, listen, all that secure vehicle shit, bro. Go ahead, bro. Y'all like sticking your brother. Listen, bro, that's my car, bro. What the fuck? Man, listen, the key is on me and I'm not giving it to y'all, bro. Don't text me, bro. Listen, my ID is on me. That's all he asked. Why am I arrested? Listen, why am I arrested?
There you go. Now, what's interesting about this in a lot of, quirky ways is there's been many, many times where I've done shows where, if you are accosted by a police officer, and I've been accosted by police officers. I can remember one time, I had to get some air, left my house late, walking down towards like Dunkin' Donuts on Monroe in Rochester. Shout out to all my rock people. And I got run up on by some officers. And if I didn't know how to handle myself, and if I didn't know procedure, and if I didn't know, how to deal with officers in an encounter where they're trying to subdue your rights, they would have arrested me right there on the spot because they said I look like somebody who fit a description. And we went over several times on the show how you engage a police officer if a police officer is trying to harass you, some of the things that you can say to de-escalate the situation on your behalf right away, like asking for their surety bond number, and it's public, so that's one of the things. But the young man didn't know that, and I broadcast in DC. I got some young people and some, ex teammates and things like that that look at the show in DC. So it's you can find a Real HD show in DC, and or you could just do the knowledge and read and get up on the best way to deal with police officers in a profiling situation and protect yourself. But if you're just gonna be belligerent, if you're just gonna be angry, if you're just gonna be out of control, then that's the button. That's the button. That's what they're looking for. They're looking for out of control young people that they can accost and they can put charges on because they're telling they can say because of how belligerent you are or how angry you are or how uncooperative you are, they can charge you with obstructing justice or whatever, pseudo charge they want to rock with you on. You know what I mean? So please, people, go back to the old. I'm not going to go through the whole rigmarole and what you're supposed to say to the cops and what you're not. Surety bond is a powerful instrument. So I just gave you a nugget right there. So if they ask you if you feel like they're harassing you and you feel like they're not cooperating with you, even though you're cooperating with them, I'll give you 2 or 3 things. You're talking about you should ask them for reasonable, articulate, reasonable suspicion, ARS. So you want them to explain that to you, number one. And that's to make sure that you know that they have a charging instrument. RAS or ARS, either one. Reasonable, articulable suspicion, right? Not what are you charging me with? You want to ask him if you're being detained, because if you're not being detained, then you're free to go. You can walk away. But what I would do, all right, so I'll give you one thing: reasonable, articulable suspicion. That's one. Number two, you want to read their badge number back to them. And if there's a squad car close, you want to read back the number of the squad car back to them. Why? Because you want them to know that you have it. And you want it on record on their body cam. So that's identifiable for them. You know what I'm saying? And three, you want to ask them for their surety bond number. It's public information. Why? Because any type of insurance is public information, especially those are public servants. And they have to give you their surety bond information. Now, what does their surety bond do? Every official in public office has to have insurance on their office. And if you ask for it, they have to present that information. And if they don't, well, you can sue them. And you can sue them either way. You can sue them with the information or without the information. But if they harass you after they're giving you their surety bond information, that's your ass, Mr. Postman. Because they can't work if they don't have insurance on their office or on their official capacity while they're in their duty. So those are three things that you can help yourself with. It's a lot more, and I've gone into a lot more in previous episodes of the show. And I'm not just saying this because I'm trying to be, highbrow or whatever you want to call it. I'm saying this because I've been in police profile situations. And I've had to manipulate myself and work toward my better safety, even though I was in those situations. And I've done it and I've come out of it. And I've even helped others that were in a police profiling situation to get out of it with their head on. If they weren't, they might have gotten arrested, but they didn't get killed on the spot, so on and so forth. But before we get too deep and too lost into the show, I want to show you a video that sums up what I believe is going on in DC right now and what's facing the nation basically with this hyper militarization that we're dealing with. And it's called the Panopticon. It's called the Paucault Panopticon. And I want to show a video on that real quick, and then we'll build on it on the other side. Panopticon Real HD show. Check it out.
Power isn't just about governments or police. It's everywhere, shaping how you think, act, and even see yourself. Michel Foucault believed that modern society doesn't need force to control us. Instead, we control ourselves. Think about surveillance cameras. Even if no one's watching, you behave as if they are. This is what Foucault called the Panopticon, a system where the mere possibility of being observed keeps us in check. But it goes deeper. Schools, hospitals, even social norms define what's normal and what's deviant. Take mental health. What we call disorders today weren't always seen that way. The categories of sane and insane aren't just medical. They're social constructs shaped by history. And then there's biopolitics, how governments regulate birth, health, even who gets to live longer. Foucault's point? The most effective power isn't the kind that forces you, it's the kind that makes you police yourself. So ask yourself, are your thoughts really your own?
All right. So that's the Foucaultian Panopticon. And pan for meaning wide, opticon for meaning observable, and Foucault, which is basically the French conceptualizer of um, this particular concept. And basically, the concept is, widespread, available state, nation state, or state of living. And that's right in line with, of course, all your World Economic Forum objectives. That's right in line with, a lot of the things you heard coming out of, you know, Agenda 2030, Agenda 2053, so on and so forth. And basically, it's about the more powerful part of the Falcocian Panopticon is that it's the surveillance state, right? And the surveillance state is basically predicated on you um acting as if you're always being watched. So, that's some 1984 shit. That's some, George Orwell 1984 shit. Like, I think Big Brother is watching, therefore I move like Big Brother is watching. Because I don't want to get uh penalties or put in jail or some sort of strike against me or my family or my loved ones or whatever associations I have, my business and my trades and my uh you know uh extracurricular associations. I don't want like the maybe you do tennis, maybe you go to a gym, and because of that affiliation, you might get like a bad name or a bad rap or something like that against you because you have you're caught in the eye of the big brother, the surveillance state. And therefore you act as if someone is watching you. They clone Tyrone, you know what I mean? You act as if you're always being surveilled. Now that's not free, that's not sovereign. And when did they change the sovereign stance in the Constitution? When did they change what it means to be an independent citizen? When did they change these things? Overnight? And they didn't tell anybody? All these little clandestine groups running around the country. When did they change that? And I really need an answer. Does anybody know when they changed that? Let me know. I mean, I have some thoughts. I have some proclivities in that area, but you know, they didn't make any sweeping announcements like, yo, everything is under martial law because they know people would lose their shit. But slowly but surely, your rights by use of force are being eroded. So your rights are also protected by force. So your rights you're enhanced by force, and your rights can be taken away by force. And a lot of people don't really get that part. Your rights can be given or taken away by force. Yeah, man. So that's what I wanted to get into with that. Let us know what you think about that particular piece. Um, are you for it? Are you not for it? What do you think we can do about it? Um, I think forming our own militia groups is pivotal. And I think doing that in a kind of lead capacity can help a lot of melanated communities. What do I mean by that? Well, you had the NF, you had the not effing around coalition. Well, if they contact certain officials and they tell them, well, we know that you're going to have some pushback in certain communities, our communities. So guess what? We will patrol our communities. We'll put a task force of 100, 200, 300 brothers. We'll divide them up in quadrants, you know, and we'll patrol the city and we'll report. That may save a lot of lives. That may save a lot of taxation without representation. That may save a lot of, strife and conflict and heartache in the inner city and in black communities, because we're heading off what could potentially be a problem. And then also with that, and I've done it myself, like during COVID, I led a group that wanted to protect a peaceful protesting group from Antifa and a lot of neo extremists at the time that wanted to ruin their protest or their vigil as they set it up. And we did a lot of good work that day. I had my sons participate. I had all the good brothers that I could muster up. We met. We got on the same page. I wish we had more time to train, but just a show of force. 30 brothers of all ages, types, and denominations out there, with the purposed for protecting the community in our way. And there's no reason, Trump is a dealer. He is a salesman through and through. They picked a salesman to be president. So, the one who will sit as king is a salesman. So if you're going to tell him that you can save him some money here, or save him some heartache there, or some asset protection, or some asset expenditure here or there, he's going to go for it. Oh, you got the Bronx, or you got Rochester, or you got DC. Okay, cool. We don't have to waste our time there. We'll go to, another spot and do that. And then we could just spread that message throughout the country, depending on how, disciplined and motivated we are to control our own destiny, So, just want to get with you on that, kind of wrap a taste on that one, and let us know what you think about it, man. Here's a question. Would you be down to have an all melanated militia of like-minded individuals, because all skin folk ain't kinfolk, like-minded individuals, like-minded people that were armed, trained, and ready to protect their areas, their resident areas, or their city areas, or their urban centers, that could head off a lot of this martializing of U.S. cities? And DC ain't that big. So DC is going to be a case study for what's going to pop off in a lot of other cities. So you need, 4 times the size of what he has now to make any, real dent in a city like New York. New York is just way too big and way too intricate for you to just think that you're going to run up in there and just do what you do. You know what I mean? And he's in LA now trying to do the very same thing. So we gotta I'll get some updates on what is going on in DC as far as all of this. I'm not DC, but LA, as far as all of this is concerned, But I just wanted to put that out there for y'all. And that's a bit of awareness for you. Move fearless, man. The Paucault Panoptican. Now it's interesting that a dude from France would put that sort of a concept together. So that tells you, in his time, even back then, and that wasn't current era, that was more like, 1800s, that sort of a thing. And he felt like that was a necessary concept to develop and to proliferate amongst the people, because he saw what was going on with the people and how they were suffering from a surveillance state. You know what I mean? And now we're back in 2025 in what's supposed to be the most liberated country on the planet, and we're getting this panopticon by someone who told you we were going to have less government than what we have now, not more government. So what is this in turn? How do you internalize what Trump is doing right now? Is this less government or more government? Put it in the chat. Timestamp it. Let me know how you feel. To be real, let's get to it. All right, so let's get to what we came here for tonight, and that's the actor-vist issue, right? So, I preempted it. You got your, you got your Tammy Lawrence, you got your Candace Owens, you got your Roland Martins, you got your Charlemagne, you got your Amari Evans, and all of them have an activist slant to what they're doing. And now you even got Julian Michaels, who's throwing her hat in the ring with some real controversial mess to talk about. And this is why I call him Actor-vist, right? Because Julian Michaels had a show that was supposed to be about helping people lose weight. And she was talking about people's telomeres and how people could live longer, blah, 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 blah. But then you go a level deeper, you just poke the bear just a bit, and then you hear all type of shit. So we're going to look at this clip real quick, and then we'll be back on the other side to talk more about Actor-vist, and then go open and homegirl in the sales went on the Jubilee experiment debating these Gen Z kind of liars. So here we go. Check this out. Relationship show.
This clip of Jillian Michaels saying this about slavery.
Do you realize that only less than 2% of white Americans own slaves?
And while she didn't name a specific year in her claim on CNN, she did tweet this out later saying, "I'm denigrating all of humanity by pointing out that 98% of American white people in 1860 didn't perpetrate slavery." But let's take a look at this claim. Because yes, as the data shows, in 1860, there were 393,975 slave owners in the United States out of a total population of 31,183,582, or just 1.26% of the population. But let's take a closer look at that, because by taking a look at this map from 1860 of the percent of households that owned slaves at the time, we can see that slavery was no longer practiced in the North and was only practiced down here in the South. And so yeah, if we eliminate those 18 free states and only concentrate on the remaining 15 slave states, you can see we get that same amount of slave owners that now have a population of just 12 million. That's almost 19 million off of the original number, which gets us to 3.22% of the population owning slaves. And so yeah, if we eliminate those 18 free states and only concentrate on the remaining 15 slave states, you can see we get that same amount of slave owners that now have a population of just 12 million. That's almost 19 million off of the original number, which gets us to 3.22% of the population owning slaves. But here's another problem. If we just look at the U.S. slave states in 1860, we can see that in the slave column here, we have almost 4 million slaves. And because they can't own themselves, we gotta minus them out too. And so if we remove them, we get 8.2 million with the same amount of slave owners, and now that number jumps up to 4.75% of the free population of these 15 states. But if we focus on just those 11 states that decided to secede from the United States in order to protect slavery, that percentage gets even bigger. So if we add up just the Confederate states, we get 316,632 slave owners and 5,582,222 people, meaning that now 5.67% of the free population own slaves. But again, this 5.67 number only deals with the patriarch of a family.
All right, so she was even wrong about that. It was 5%. It wasn't 2%. It was 5%. And also, what she didn't mention is that in 1860, you were dealing with the first revival of Christian ethics and Christian morals in the country, and the second revival that led to Bloody Kansas. And what was Bloody Kansas? Well, Bloody Kansas was the event where they warred with each other and neighboring states over what state would be free states or slave states. So are we cherry picking here, Julian Michaels? When you knew the country was on the brink of the Civil War in 1860 when you brought up that statistic about 2%. See, this is why I say, and I didn't put a picture up here, but she's another example of actor-vist because she had her own, even though she was you could say she was a celebrity TV person because she had a DVD, a famous DVD series that was you could stream or you can subscribe to it, and you know it would show you how to work out. So she was a TV celebrity of sorts, and then she would be on all kind of you know reality shows talking her little ish about losing weight and being your best self. And you never knew that this chick had the inclinations and the proclivities that she has about different ethnic groups of people. And then to not be truthful about the shape and the culture and the popularity of what was going on at the time. Bloody Kansas was just 10 years before the statistic that she brought up about that. And guess what? That a minority owning slaves, or what I like to say, chatteled people, is nothing new. That's always been the case. Because not everybody could come and be involved in America and have the opportunity to own acreage and to own slaves or chattel people. Let's just say chattel people. They didn't have the wherewithal to do that, and that was a special arrangement when the colonies first started. Maybe not as they matriculated up to 1860, but 1610, 1619, right? Georgetown and all of the rest of it, Plymouth Rock and all the rest of it. There was a council of plantations with King Charles II and how they were going to divide up those lands. And that was a real ass thing. He gave you acreage in the New World under his charter if you agreed to take, and he would give you, through networking with the Portuguese, the English would give you a certain amount of chattel people to work 19 acres of land if you agreed to be the representative of that district and be a mercantilist. That means basically usurp the land, rape the land, take the land for all the resources, and give a percentage back to, England. And that was the arrangement. It was called the Council of Plantations. Think I'm lying? Look it up. Look it up. Council of Plantations. So that was a real deal, real shit. So it wasn't just like, oh, we came over here as some persecuted folks, landed in Massachusetts and Virginia, and off the sweat of our brow, we set up these, arrangements in these colonies. No, this stuff was planned. And whatever they were going to do with the native people, that was planned too. And your connection, not only to the African diaspora, but to the native people, was also factored in. So, just, just some food for thought, man. Just some food for thought. So back to this actor-vist issue, right? So I want to show you, I'm gonna dig up a particular headline overlay that I got that I want to get into. It's an article, and it has a lot to do with this activist piece, right? And this is how I even came across it. And it wasn't just about looking at Amanda Seales and what she was doing with the Jubilee piece. It was about this article here. So I have to let me see. Did I label it? I should have. Let's see. Oh, I have a lot of stuff that I should have labeled. I hope I can get into that at some point. Okay, here we go. This is called Real Activists Are Worried, right? So this is a piece where I came across, and this is an article via 2019, 2018. Let me look closer real quick. This is, I believe it's 2018, right? And it says real black activists worry fake ones will drown them out. Now they're talking about Twitter, and Twitter was, before it was only YouTube and Twitter that was popping at that time. Facebook was on its first legs. Instagram was on its first legs. They had Snapchat. They had what was the other one? It was another big one that they had, and they just came off of SoundCloud. Not SoundCloud. What was the other one they came off of? That was on AOL. Well, the point is, AOL had some social media sites, but this one is particularly interesting. Real activists worry that fake ones will drown them out. Now, why did people say that? We don't have bots. We have real black folks. One activist said, the danger of these accusations is that Facebook and YouTube latches onto this and tries to undermine our ability to have a real black political dialogue. And that was on the heels of Trump just coming into office, and what that would mean for activists, so on and so forth. So, which is real because you saw the results of the BLM era, right? You saw that there was a lot of folks that just went for theirs, and they came out of it with this kind of, I got to get paid, get the bag mentality. And then, you had your Tamika Mallory's and your you had your, all of the three young ladies that were leading BLM, and then after, or simultaneous to them, or maybe even a little bit after, you had a lot of people come out. Charlemagne came out and he became a very, big talking head. Tammy Lauren, she was out. She was a big talking head. Um, what was the chick that said shut up and dribble? Ann Coulter, she was a really big cat. Candace Owens, she had the whole Blexit thing. And when that fell apart, she was rocking with the Ben Shapiro thing. So based on her soapbox stature, her ability to talk, she created a fandom for herself. And of course, you got your Roly Poly Martins and his really, janky way of reporting on black issues. He likes you when he like you. When he don't. And he get the stuttering and the B to B to B and all that type of shit. And then, then enter Amanda Seals and a lot of other people like, what's her name? Um, Tamika Mallory. She was an activist that jumped into the music space and the poetry space. And then Amanda Seals was a, artist who jumped into the activist space. And, I don't want to be super critical of her background because I think she means well. I just think she went about it totally wrong. And I think being led by people like Diddy and the whole revolt thing, and I don't even know how they're still functioning after the Diddy black eye. That's crazy. And then, you had the Revolt Summit where he had T.I. and Killer Mike and, Tamika Mallory. And I remember Candace Owens was a part of that. And all these people would get up there and espouse all this stuff, but they weren't academics. They weren't straight activists. They were entertainers. And there's something to say about a television network that wants to get the pulse of a community, and what they put up there for you to digest is a bunch of entertainers. Wow. So that's such a reversal from the Black empowerment civil rights era, where you had your Martins and your Malcolms, and those were ministers, right? So say what you want to about Martin, say what you want about Brother Malcolm, but they were dealing with the downtrodden and the disenfranchised and the marginalized every day. That was their work. You feel me? Now, you could say whatever you want about the effectiveness of their message, but they were skilled at what they were doing. They were read individuals. They were intelligent. They were intellectuals of sorts. And the country needed them to be, because the majority of the country was dealing with dogs being sicked on them, being beaten and hanged, and, hoses, ripping the flesh off their bones. They were dealing with a lot of shit, like straight up, no chaser. And they needed some people who were steeped in intellectualism, whether it be through their faith or through just straight scholarship. People who knew how to talk, people who knew how to convey a message, and people who had no fear of, standing on, like they say, standing on business, right? And them two brothers gave their life for the liberation of our people. Now, we chose integration instead of liberation. That's a whole nother show. But and we'll get to that. But we didn't have actors. Matter of fact, the actors of that time knew their place. The Red Foxes, the Sidney Poitiers, the Bill Cosbys, the Eartha Kitts, the Aretha Franklins, the James Browns. They were like, nah, put this check on it. Put a check on it. I'm not y'all. I do this music thing. I don't do what y'all do. Y'all do what y'all do because y'all are magnificent at what y'all do. And then brothers like Malcolm, who loved his James Brown and loved his Sam Cooke and loved his Muhammad Ali and his James Brown, said, y'all do what y'all do. I'm going to do what I do. And we could be a united force trying to knock this thing down. And they knew their place. But now it also seems like folks don't really know their place. You know what I'm saying? So we got 10 minutes left. And I'm going to get to it, do it. Because it's worth it. So I'm going to show a clip real quick. Hopefully, it won't take 10 minutes. It'll take about 3. And we'll talk about some of the, headlining issues that were going on with this, that we can get into. Or those who watch the show on repeat can actually timestamp and give their 2 cents about. So while this isn't like full rebuttals from Amanda Seales, I had to kind of like blot it out and be very kind of careful so that I can keep this, episode moving, and that you guys can see this episode and get a lot more out of it. So let's go. Here we go. And just know, Amanda Seales, she was on the, hit show Insecure. She had a big run with that. She had a big run in comedy with Keenan Ivory Wayans and Roseanne Barr and McDonald. So she was a TV and acting personality. Excuse me. She wasn't an activist. And for some reason, she believed that she could throw her hat in that ring simply because she got that particular degree. Now, I'll say all degrees ain't created equal. So if you get a degree in pottery or basket weaving it's not going to be the same as if you could get a degree in engineering or political science. So her background is through SUNY Purchase, and she got a degree in African studies and hip hop. So I'm not saying either one is bad, but it doesn't hold the same weight. And guess what? The way she articulates herself bears that out. All right, here we go. Let's check it out. Real AC Show. Here we go.
Are necessary. I think the most important thing that's necessary right now for the black community would be the stopping of violence, especially black on black violence. I don't see how reparations is going to solve anything. You can give everyone here like a $50,000, especially people that are in the streets who are committing violent crimes consistently, a $50,000 check. It's not going to fix anything.
But why should people who are sitting there?
All right, so I'm just going to go back a second. And you see how she has her hand on her chin? Like, there's a famous quote by Dr. Clark. I don't debate my enemies. All those who I believe are under me, I teach. I don't debate, I teach. And this group of young people that are around her, coming up to her and debating her, similar to a Candace Owens, right? She's their senior. So it's, she has the duty to teach these young people, not to get flustered, not to get, insulted or act like this is a waste of her time or beneath her, but to actually teach these young people so that they know what is what isn't what. But in a lot of ways, she wasted that opportunity because she wanted to win the day. And we don't really need people who claim they're about our, independence and liberation trying to win the day or doing it just for clout. You know what I'm saying? We need people who are purposed and focused on moving our people in the right direction. But let's continue with what they're talking about in this whole piece, right? All right, here we go.
Who are committing violent crimes consistently, a $50,000 check, it's not going to fix anything.
But why should people who are sitting at home playing video games, smoking marijuana,
Are you sitting at home playing a video game? Are you sitting at home playing a video?
Okay. So they're arguing about the video game ethic because that's the trope that's going around about isolated and indigent men, is that they're home, playing video games when they should be working or contributing to society and yada, yada, yada. But I wanted to talk about something this young man said. He said $50,000 check is not going to change everything. Well, according to Sandy Doherty, who was the foremost economist who constructed a reparations plan where each house would get almost $500,000 per person, right? That's not a drop in the bucket. Because if your wife and yourself get $1 million, well, that could change the trajectory of a lot of homes across the country. That would almost equal the racial wealth gap. That would almost equal it. Because that's kind of the what do I call that? Not the GDP, but that's kind of the income status of a lot of, elite white homes. They're in the $1 million, net category. So, it's really interesting. I find it interesting that, and this young man is not from here, even though he's melanated, he's from Angola. And she makes an effort to scream him out that he's not, American born black. So, I don't really care for her, her utility and the way that she articulates herself. And she so-called prides herself on being an articulate person. Not here though. So let's get back to it in the time we have remaining. and then I'll wrap it up real quick.
Solve anything. You can give everyone here like a $50,000 check, especially people that are in the streets who are committing violent crimes consistently. A $50,000 check, it's not going to fix anything.
But why should people who are sitting at home playing video games, smoking marijuana,
Are you sitting at home playing a video game? Are you sitting at home playing a video game?
The people that they're wanting
Am I
reparations
sitting at home playing a video game?
All right. Now, what's interesting about this also, I got to preempt, right, before we finish real quick, is this is an all conservative crowd debating Amanda Seales, who is liberal. She's a Democrat. And you know, they're bringing their level best to her in terms of vitriol and in terms of complaint. And she's not really showing her senior acumen to be a lot more, you know, studied and steadied in the way that she's dealing with these young people. And I think that was a fail. Now, I'm not saying that what she had to say and the overarching meaning of what she had to say was a fail, because I agree with 75%, but I didn't agree with the way she went about it. And it's not to soft soak it, but you got to understand the crowd that you're dealing with. They weren't her equals. So like Dr. Like Dr. Clark, if they're not your equals, you need to teach them. And I thought that was a wasted opportunity. But let's continue. 2 more minutes.
No. And I don't know who these people are that you're talking about, because the majority of the black community is not sitting at home playing video games.
The majority of the black community is doing a lot of things.
Where are you getting that statistic?
Who's killed more black people, the Klan or us?
I would like to continue my statement. I let you speak uninterrupted.
Your claim about black on black crime, I really do believe, and I think a lot of people here do believe, especially based off of personal experiences and everything, that it is just lack of accountability. In the black community, we need to start taking responsibility for our actions and stop pointing our fingers at other people and the white man.
So I'm originally from New Orleans, right? And I've seen black on black crime my whole life, right? Yes. I don't believe it has nothing to deal with the police. It's more with the community.
As the daughter of an immigrant, it is imperative that black people from other places understand the disparate difference that they exist from black people in the United States. It is not the same. Period. And ultimately, the best effort that we can do as a diaspora is to lead in understanding, not in judgment. So when I am talking to somebody from Sudan, from the Congo, from Angola, I am listening to understand their experience, not to undermine it. And I refuse to allow anybody from Grenada, from Angola, from any other place to come and try to undermine the experience of black Americans.
Well, here's the thing, right? Because it's almost like she needed a speechwriter, right? Because that's why they give presidents speechwriters, so that presidents don't just go up there full-throated, emotional, deliver a message, and, you know, wet the bed, be inarticulate, be irresponsible in the way that they deliver their message. And then the world is supposed to think that you're going to lead them. So how is 44 million melanated people in America supposed to believe that Amanda Seales is some sort of correspondent for them if she's emotional? And there was another scene in that clip, in that particular show, where she screams on the young man and says, "You're not even Black American." And I don't know that that's the point. The point is, you know, a lot of people from overseas cast judgment on Black Americans without fully being informed as to the plight, the struggle, the reality of how they live. And it causes a lot of division. And this is why Black people want to delineate. Because after 1965 on to 1972, mad, you know, Caribbeans, you know, Spanish speaking and melanated, you know, Trinidad, Jamaica, Haiti, whatever, you know, Caribbean spot they come from, they come to the United States with these notions in their mind about Black Americans and what they do and what they don't do. And that was nothing but a tactic of a divide and conquer tactic of white supremacy. And like I told you earlier in the Neely Fuller video, that if you don't understand how white supremacy works, everything else will confuse you because they dominate the messaging and the control of the 9 daily centers of human activity. And one thing I wanted to get into real quick before we go is this crime piece. Because you'll see a lot of Black Americans who, due to emotionalism, will get nose over skis about Black on Black crime. And I'm here to tell you that way back to the Queenie and Bumpy Johnson in the 1940s and 50s and 60s, there's been proximity crime. Now, they didn't call it Black on Black crime then because everybody lived in the same areas and we were more on code. So we knew not to get on some publication, some newspaper, some whatever, and say, oh, Black on Black crime is the problem. Killing each other is the problem. We knew what the enemy was because we had water hoses and dogs and police and lynchings and all of the terroristic things that they could think of right on our doorstep. So we didn't have time to blame one another. And that wasn't even a real thing, like it isn't now. So I want to quote some statistics for you. And I was going to do a whole big show of this, but I'll get to it so that, you know, we can move on and we can end the show. But I want to get to it, right? And here's the thing, right? So for crime, so this seems to be a big, I was going to get into Jubilee, and Jubilee's, you know, it's a UK company and they're doing it just for clout and all that other stuff. But I'll get, the more important thing is, you know, proximity crime, what some people like to call Black on Black crime, right? So I'm going to say this for the road. Crime does not define Black men or Black people across the U.S. landscape. I know they love to do this. I know this is old as Birth of a Nation, but it does not define who Black people are. Blaming Black men for criminality is just low-hanging fruit. Why do I say that? Because the U.S. has made a franchise of criminalizing Black men, putting them in jail, and making a mockery of them. That's, you know, Eddie Murphy tried to bring that out in the movie Life, and he did it in a very comedic way, but he showed some very obvious things, some very obvious savage inequalities. Disproportion is not the same as majority because the disproportion can simply be rounded into petty arrests, while the overall numbers don't align with the majority of criminality, which means there's a lot more white people in the country right now. So if white people outnumber Black people in a tremendous way, whether the crimes are being reported or not, who do you think is doing the majority of the crimes? Come on, wake up. It's like the welfare queen thing. If there's more white women in the country than Black women, and more poor white people, then who are the welfare queens? It ain't the poor Black women. That's a undeserved title. That's a poor excuse for, putting a title on a population. Let's move on. The underwhelming majority of Black men and boys don't commit crimes and aren't in long-term prison. Now, I know this is a popular stereotype that a lot of people like to report, but I could tell you that I have 2 sons and they've never been in jail. One's almost 30 and one's almost 25. And they've never been in jail. They've never had children out of wedlock, and they're not criminality young men. And that's not to say that they aren't criminality young men, but I think we let our environment and our personal experience jade us from what is reality. So let's talk about some reality. There's 23 million Black men in the U.S., And according to US CDC, FBI, and blackdemographics.org, says that 70 per 100,000 high risk, there are only 70 per 100,000 high risk black men for criminality. I'll say that again. 70 per 100,000 high risk black men involved in criminality. So that's only, if you do the math, that's only 0.07% commit murder in a given year. So that means 99% of black men do not commit murder. So when everybody's emotional and hooping and hollering about, black on black crime, some of the boomers, some of the graded, the youth, and they're, committing crime on the street. And that's not to say that black people don't commit crime on the street. Of course they do. But it's not as overblown as you think. According to prisoninitiative.org of 2025, there are 2 million people in jail worldwide. Black people only make up 37% of the 2 million people in jail. 740K individuals making only 3.7 people in jail. So that means that 96.9% of young black men or black men, period, are not in jail. So whenever you hear these statistics coming about, oh, they're gay, or they're in jail, or they're this, or they're that, that's just buying into a lot of crap that is not accurate. Yes, per capita, crime rates are higher compared to other groups, but we're talking about 0.7% to 1% of black men committing crimes. That's a fraction of a fraction of a fraction. Now, that doesn't mean that there's not petty arrests. That doesn't mean that parole officers don't come around and try to stigmatize black people for missing parole assignments or smoking a little bit of weed to deal with their PTSD or whatever they do. Those things do happen. Do black people get arrested for petty crimes? Absolutely. That doesn't mean that they're just popping off, killing people at a rate that's out of control. That's the TV culture and the media culture guiding your thinking. Another one. So, due to emotionalism, most blacks weaponize black crime activity. That's right, they weaponize it. Why? Because they suffer from post-traumatic slave disorder. So they can't separate themselves from how they were conditioned. They can't. And when you operate in that way, when your thumb, when your nose is only focused on the thumb, and that's all you can see, then you miss the heavenly glory. That's not mine. That's Bruce Lee's. So sloppy, it's dishonest, and encourages the grifting and the stereotypes that exist while alleviating other ethnic groups of criminality, like the mob of all ethnic groups, the Jewish mob, the Italian mob, the Irish mob, there were white drug dealers, and it exonerates those people. But painting black men as the low-hanging fruit stereotype. Another one. Oh, yo, good looking on Twitch. Good looking on that, good looking on that comment. I'll post it in a second. 1983, the likelihood of brothers going to jail were 1 to 3, right? Because that's when they were really cracking down on crack and drugs, and that led to, of course, the ridiculous 95 crime bill. But in 2011, the likelihood is only 1 to 5. So that means that those stats were improving, but no one wanted to acknowledge that those stats were improving. one of the main big problems within the Amanda Seals debate, and the reason why I say actor-vist is because one of the young ladies got up there and they had a real kind of back and forth about whatever that was, whatever their issue was. It was about criminality and what's more likely to happen in the world of criminality. And again, Dr. Neely Fuller, if you don't understand white supremacy and how it affects the 9 daily centers of human activity, everything else will confuse you. But here's some other things that will kill you faster than black on proximity crime, right? Poisonous water will kill you. So, how many areas of the country? Baltimore, Flint, Michigan, Wisconsin, Cali. How many areas are dealing with poor water issues? Even Rochester, right? Food deserts are more likely to kill you than proximity crime. Race soldiers, scouting black areas, profiling folks, using their qualified immunity will more likely kill you than proximity crime. Desperation due to lack of opportunity and due to racist gatekeeping will more likely end you or make you want to do something crazy that will put you in a bad position more than, proximity crime from black folks. And also, piss poor gatekeeping of education is more of a killer than proximity violence. Why? You putting these kids on Ritalin and all sorts of ADHD drugs by the time they 5 and 6 years old. What you think the rest of their trajectory is for? If you got a school to prison pipeline as early as 3rd grade, how do you think these kids are going to deal? You know what I mean? And I'm going to cap it there. If you guys want to, look at that clip some more and find out more about, the actor-vist rhetoric that goes on, they tackle subjects like fatherlessness, which is another myth, right? CDC debunked that. They tackle reparations, which is, for people of the diaspora, we got an envy thing there going on, and we got a issue of, do they understand enough about the black experience in America to be no about reparations? And then lineage, how a lot of people from the diaspora like to judge the lineage of black people in America because out of envy. America gets to fight for their freedom. Black people in America get to, have the Civil Rights Act that they have to come in on the heels of and, be indebted to. So there's a lot of envy there that's not being talked about. You know what I mean? And a lot of younger people and older people from the diaspora, not all, some but not all, fall into this line of thinking. And it's a poison pill. It poisons the well. It poisons relations between the different areas of the African diaspora across the planet. And if black people in America are saying enough is enough, you're coming here with the intent to be manipulative based on your lineage, then we just gonna shut you down. We're not even gonna let you be a part of what that is. We're gonna call you out. We're gonna say that you're not, look at your forehead, look at your hairline, and you're not really down with us. Now, I'm not gonna go hard body on it because my grandmother's from Trinidad and my grandfather's from Florida. He was a Seminole, he's Boudouac. So who am I to judge either way? Because I'm kind of, I'm split down the middle of it all. But I can understand when there's wrong being done, when there's undue judgment happening, and I want to correct that. So this is like a spring cleaning for the community that we desperately need. but we gotta stop taking it public in order to air these things out. And then you have these actor-vists who do anything for clout to get that message out there, and then they poison the opportunity for us to be more progressive. So with that, I'm gonna end it. I'm gonna say peace. Y'all walk with power. Y'all make sure y'all like, share, and subscribe. Comment on whatever part of the show that you can relate to. Let's get some comments in there. Let's get some donations popping. Y'all used to donate a lot. I'm missing y'all doing that. Y'all do that one more again. This is a real great show. I'm your brother, the Vic, the victorious one. I'm signing off for the Real HD Show. Peace. Walk with power. Y'all love on each other. And I will see y'all next home day.